Hello, everybody. I think we're live. And welcome to this week's Wednesday weekly product training. My name is Rebecca Haresign, and I'm the Product Education Manager and Nutritionist for Isagenix in Europe. So, as you will have guessed from the caption, this week we're talking all about using Isagenix for performance. And if you have any specific questions about, using the product, which products to use, how you can incorporate it into different specific sports and activities, then please do drop them below and we'll come to a little Q&A at the end. So always just type as we go because there is this little time delay between Zoom and Facebook. But Isagenix isn't just for weight loss. And I think it's important to remember that because we have so many amazing weight loss transformations. We've got great products for it. We've got great programs that are really easy to stick to and people get great results, time after time after time. But we do also have great solutions for performance. And I think if you look back to the weekend when we announced our IsaBody finalists, honorable mentions, you can just see even from that small snapshot of people that we have solutions for a whole range of different goals, different outcomes. And that's really what I want to touch on today. So of course, we have our team Isagenix, where we've got an amazing handful of professional athletes. We're the nutritional partner for Peterborough football team. We've also got professional rugby players, professional golfers, Olympic level triathletes, which is amazing. We've got, ice hockey players, bodybuilders, a whole range of different people. And that's just in Europe alone, right? We've got even more athletes globally. All using exactly the same products, but all in slightly different ways that we'll come to get the most out of their training. And obviously, the more intense your training is, the higher level that you're training at, you're going to see knock-on effects and improvements in your performance. So these are professionals. And whilst that's great to aspire to, there's thousands more people that are just amateurs, or maybe we're just doing it because, we like to stay fit and healthy and we like, to the enjoyment. It's a hobby. Maybe sometimes you get a little bit competitive, but on the whole, it's just, you're just doing what you love. But we all have that kind of, we want to get a little bit more, we want to see a few more results. We want to be able to, shave a few seconds off of that, how many miles you can run in an hour and, can't remember the exact name for that. But all of those things, you want to see small improvements. If you're putting in all this effort into your training, then you do want to see improvements in your outcome. So what I'm actually going to do today is, rather than hone in on specific products, I'm actually going to run through all of the products that are in our Energy and Performance Premium Pack and have a little chat about each of them and different ways that different people might be using them. Because I think, particularly in this performance category, it's not easy to make it prescriptive. So obviously with our weight loss program, we've got a great program. We've got the shake day, the cleanse day schedules, and they're really easy to kind of give to somebody and to say, here you are, like, this is what we recommend doing. Whereas in performance, it's not really possible to do that because everybody is so individual. Every sport is so unique. People are at different stages of their sporting career. People are trying to achieve different things. So with all of that in mind, every kind of story, every kind of program under performance is always going to be slightly different to the next. So yeah, I'm just going to run through each of the products and have a little chat about different ways that they could be used, different ways that they could be incorporated. And then afterwards, actually also going to have a chat about cleanse days because often you think cleanse days are only for weight loss or cleanse days aren't of any benefit to athletes. So have a little chat about those and how they can help. So because I might easily forget them, I actually got my little crib sheet of all the different products that we have in the premium pack so that I don't leave any out. So first of all, Isalean Shake. So Isalean Shake, as I'm sure you already know, great source of whey protein, the undenatured whey protein, 24 grams per serving. But we also have the perfect balance of all the other nutrients in there. So carbohydrates, fiber, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, you name it, it's in there. So, in our weight loss program, that's a great meal. In performance, maybe that's a meal, maybe it's a post-workout snack, maybe it's a base for a meal, which you're then going to add to. and you're going to, you know, tweak it depending on, do you want to add more protein? Do you want to add more carbohydrates? Do you want to add more fats because you really want to up the calories? There's lots of different ways that you can really add to that product to make it what you need it to be, to get out of it what you need to get out of it. So for some people, as I said, if your energy requirements aren't super high, then maybe Isalean Shake is still a meal for you. Maybe it's your breakfast every day. But more and more people I would expect to be adding to it and making it into a smoothie bowl, adding different toppings, or leaving it as a smoothie and adding in different ingredients that way. But for other people, if your energy requirements are really, really high, then Isalean Shake is probably quite likely to be a snack for you. Maybe it's a snack post-workout. Maybe it's even a snack pre-workout, depending on the time of day when you're training and how that fits with the other meals that you're having. Of course, if you're trying to do protein pacing, which is where you have high protein meals and snacks regularly throughout the day, like 5 or 6 times per day, Isalean Shake's a great solution for that. So it's not necessarily, don't just see it as a meal replacement for weight loss. I appreciate it's what it says in the packaging, but that's just one way of using the product. And there's a whole range of different ways that the product can be used for slightly different benefits. So the next product that we have, Isopro, which is our whey protein powder. So per scoop, you've got 18 grams of that undenatured whey protein. And again, this is a really versatile product that can be used in a multitude of different ways, whether it's just on its own as a protein shake, really. So whether that's, normally that would be post-workout, but I know lots of people just have it as a snack, really, if you want to keep your protein up throughout the day, particularly if you've got quite a high macro target for protein, then that's, you know, a really great way to get the protein in without getting in the carbs, the fats, the fibers, any of the other macros that you might be trying to keep slightly lower. You can also use it to increase the protein of your meals. So if you're having, you know, porridge, you want to add a bit of protein into your porridge or your pancakes, or if you want some high protein snacks like little protein balls, which can be really great for like during training. If you've got, you know, long runs, long cycles, etc., and you need to have some snacks to keep you going throughout. We then have our Isalean Bar, so still carrying on the protein trend here, 18 grams of protein per bar. So again, post-workout as a snack, we'll leave that up to you. But Isalean Bar isn't just a protein bar. So Isalean Bar is maybe a little bit more like Isalean Shake, where you are getting those other macronutrients at the same time. Whereas Isopro is just that one standalone, it's just protein as a macronutrient. So 3 different options there for different proteins to have. And just have a think about how you'd use them and what other macronutrients do you want to be combined. And there's lots of different options there for people to pick and choose from. Next product is Ionix Supreme. And you might think that's maybe a little bit of a weird one. You might not expect to find that in a performance pack. But actually, when you think about the impact that exercise has on the body, you know, the physiological stress that it puts the body under, free radicals, oxidative stress, all of those things, actually, yeah, the ingredients, the nutrients, the botanicals and plants that are in Ionix Supreme are a great solution to give your body that little bit of extra support for the stress that you're placing the body under. Stress sounds like a negative, but exercise is a positive. So it's important that we don't read too much into that, but it's just the stress that it places on the body. Next product is eShot. Not sure many people need convincing to have an eShot in their life, but it's great to have this little energy shot that is not full of rubbish. You know, it's full of good ingredients, not huge amounts of sugar, the right amount of caffeine. We've added some other plants and botanicals in there too. So a great product to have really, you know, regardless of goals. But if you think about maybe just needing a pick-me-up, maybe if you're doing a particularly long training session and you do feel like you need that little extra boost of caffeine to get you through, then obviously you could, you know, I've had people running marathons before where, you know, after a couple of hours, they've had an eShot to really give them that zing and that motivation to get like over the hurdle and through the finish line. And then we go into our 3 amped products. So amped is like our sub-brand where it's specifically for performance. So we only really talk about the amped products in the performance setting. So first of all, we have Amped Nitro, which is our pre-workout, where we've used ingredients like arginine, citrulline, beta-alanine, creatine, caffeine, so that you can really push yourself and really take your training to the next level. So obviously you've got to be fueled by all of the right nutrients and be taking care of your body, you know, in all the other hours of the day, which is where the other products come in. But Nitro really comes in for those training sessions and for those competition days. And of course, if you're taking your training to the next level, you also need to take your recovery to the next level, okay? Or else you're not gonna really be able to reap the benefits of that increased level of training if you're not recovering right afterwards. So that's where our Amped post-workout comes in. And in that product, we've used ingredients like astaxanthin, tart cherry, curcumin, and collagen, all to support that post-workout time, to help reduce that muscle soreness that, you know, we often feel. Sometimes it's a nice feeling because you know you've worked hard, but if you are trying to really keep on top of that training schedule, it's really difficult to actually keep on going when you are feeling so sore. Also, just to say that post-workout is obviously a different set of nutrients, a different set of ingredients to the proteins that you'll find in Isalean Shake, Isopro, and Isalean Bar. So the two work perfectly together. So definitely think about how you would combine the ingredients in the post-workout plus your post-workout protein and refuel. They're both two very different parts, but two very important parts to have after training. And the final product is Amped Hydrate. So that is an electrolyte drink. And that's really for, you know, we target it really as a during training drink, but you need to go into your training hydrated, and afterwards you're going to need to rehydrate as well. So a little bit of flexibility in how to use that product, whether you're going to have it before you start training, during your training, particularly if your training is longer than an hour, then that is really important to be making sure that you are refueling and replenishing those electrolytes that you're losing naturally through your sweat as you're going through. And then obviously afterwards, it's really important to take on board everything that you have lost during your training sessions. So that is the Energy and Performance Premium Pack in a nutshell. And that's just one pack. So we have a whole range of different packs. So depending on the different things that you want to target, you know, maybe you're just focused on those supplements. Maybe you do want a little bit of meal support, a little bit of different options in terms of, you know, ways to have that whey protein. Then there's different packs depending on what it is that you're after. But that's like an overview of everything that you'll find in any of the performance packs. So if anyone has any questions, now is a great time to drop them below. Let me just have a look, see if we've already got any questions. But I do still want to have this little chat about cleanse days. So yeah, any more questions, just drop them in and I'll come to them in a second once we've had a chat about cleanse days. So a cleanse day, just as a summary, is a type of intermittent fasting. And, you know, people often think intermittent fasting weight loss. They don't think intermittent fasting overall health, potentially improve performance, potentially, you know, help me get to where I want to be. So it goes without saying that we don't recommend intense exercise on your cleanse days. And I still enjoy being active on my cleanse days. You know, I still do yoga, still always go out walking, but that for other people, that could be a challenge, that they could be working up to that. And so it's not really a one size fits all, hey, here's what to do. It's always going to be relative to your own personal fitness levels. So don't recommend intense exercise. And so obviously, depending on your training schedule, you might not be fitting in 4 cleanse days per month if you're not, you know, if you're trying to be really active and you've got this training schedule, going 4 days a month without intense training, plus your other recovery refuel days, it just might not work. So maybe it's just a couple of cleanse days that you're doing per month. So there's definitely different ways that you can fit them in and still reap the benefits. But in terms of the benefits for performance, I think when people are, you know, trying to build muscle and trying to, you know, shred a little bit, look a little bit leaner, they sort of park cleanse days and forget about them. But there is a lot of research on how, basically what researchers have done is compared, they've taken muscle mass as the thing that they're measuring, and they've seen the impact of intermittent fasting and how that impacts muscle loss, and compared it to just restricting your calories and how that impacts muscle loss. And what they found is that actually you lose a little bit more lean muscle by restricting calories daily. You lose more of it doing that than by just doing your occasional fasting days. So actually you're holding on to a little bit more of that lean muscle mass by doing your fasting. So, I mean, that's a no-brainer really. People always think that it's not going to help, but actually if you, rather than just monitoring your calories daily and trying to create that deficit to become a little bit leaner, think about fasting. Think about how you could include it into your training schedule. Again, it might just be a couple of days a month, it might not be every single week, but think about how you could include it, and maybe it will help you get from A to B that little bit faster. And it's going to support your overall health. Okay, so that's, you might think, oh, because I run marathons, because I do this and this, I'm super healthy. But you've got to think about your health on the inside and really giving your body that break from training, that break from digesting and metabolizing, and really giving your body a chance to do this cleaning up process called autophagy, where you can only really activate it by fasting. So your body needs that time to really have a clean up and recycle all of the old cells, and out with the old, in with the new, and you do feel so much better for it afterwards, particularly if you're doing it regularly in the long term. But with that being said, just remember, we always talk about 3 ways to cleanse. So whether that's a single cleanse day where you just do basically the whole of today is your day of fasting, or you have a double cleanse day where you'll do exactly the same, but you'll fast for all of today and all of tomorrow. And we also have daily cleansing. So daily cleansing is a great solution if you just can't go that day without training. If it is really intense and you're working towards a really tough goal and you do need to be doing something every single day, then have a think about daily cleansing, which is where you just have one smaller serving, so just 59 milliliters of Nourish for Life, and you can have that either before you go to bed or when you wake up first thing in the morning. So obviously you're naturally fasting between that window, and so by having the Nourish for Life in that time, you can really take advantage of the time when you're fasting without even intentionally fasting. I don't think many of us are getting up at 2 a.m. for an Isalean Shake, but some people might be. But that's another way that you can incorporate Nourish for Life, reap the benefits of that product, and really maximize the fasting that you are doing by chance, really, by coincidence. Okay. So here we have a couple of questions. Okay. I always find it weird. I can only see like 4, even though there's probably more. Hopefully they'll come up. So question from Mindy. A customer asked why Amped Nitro only provides 24 portions, not 30 a month. I actually think it's 20 servings in a pot of Amped Nitro. And that's just because we're not expecting people to be training 7 days a week at that intense level. Obviously, athletes may well be, and they may need to add a different amount. They may need to be adding in that additional pot of nitro to get them through the month. But for most people who are not training 7 days a week, I think there's enough in there to train 5 days a week, which is a little bit more normal. So not normal, sorry, but more what more people are doing rather than training intensely 7 days a week. So that's the reason why there's a little bit less in there. And it's the same with post-workout. They have the same number of portions as well. So at least you know that you've got that bundle where you'll be having, you can do the same number of training sessions with those 2 products together and then just reorder as and when you need to. Another question, is it possible that I can't sleep well after using Amped Nitro late in the day? Yes, because it is a source of caffeine. 80 milligrams of caffeine in there. So if you are sensitive to caffeine, then, think about the last time in the day you'd have a cup of coffee. And if you wouldn't have a cup of coffee past 4 p.m., then I wouldn't recommend having your nitro past 4 p.m. So yeah, that's just something to be mindful of because of the caffeine that's in there. Same amount of caffeine is an e-shot, so the same rule applies, that I wouldn't recommend having that too late in the day if you are sensitive. But I know lots of people are, training at 6, 7 p.m. in the evening, and they're absolutely fine. So that's going to be on a personal basis, depending on how sensitive you are to caffeine. Now let me just try and see if I can see any more of these questions, because there were definitely some more in there. One second. Question about nitro pins and needles type feeling. This is the tingle, and this is to do with the beta alanine. So it is something that your body will get used to after a while. If you find that it is really bad, I find that I've started cycling recently, and I find that I feel it more when I'm cycling versus when I'm doing running or strength training. Don't know why that would be, but yeah. If it's really bad, then just scale it down. So you're only having like half a scoop of nitro, and then maybe build up to get that amount of beta alanine in. But nothing to worry about. Obviously, if it does continue and it is really, really bad, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's nothing to do with the beta alanine. Maybe you need to see a doctor. But for most people, we find that it is just to do with the beta alanine. I'm not sure why it's not showing me. Sorry, guys. Really, really bad. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe you need to see a doctor. For most people, we find that it. Okay. Sorry, I know that there's more questions. Don't know why it's doing this to me. Let me try on my phone. Always got to love a little bit of technology. No, still not coming up. Need a little bit of hold music to make this better. Yeah, John, I saw that you asked about Ionics, but now I can't find the question. So I don't know why. For some reason on the live, it only shows me like the 4 most recent questions, which is, you know, not that helpful. Okay. Okay, I've got a few more questions now. I can see them on my phone. Sorry about that. You mentioned Ionics. I usually have it first thing in the morning, but I remember Michael Bockart saying he takes it after his workout. What would you recommend? Yes, so with Ionics, it's really different people enjoy it at different times of day. So for some people, first thing in the morning is the best time for them. Michael recommends it after workout, particularly with Michael Bockart. He's training people, you know, to compete for bodybuilding, etc. So they've got very intense training. So for them, he recommends it post-training session, which I think is a great idea. You definitely can't go wrong with that. Equally, other people enjoy taking it before they go to bed. So I'd kind of leave that up to you with what works best. Maybe try it after some of your tougher training sessions. But don't forget, you've also got your post-workout. You've also got your protein to get in and your refuel. So you don't want to have too many things at the same time because it might just become a bit complicated. So I'll leave that up to you to try a few different things out and see what works best. Esther has asked, what is it that people get nauseous after taking Ionics in the morning? That's going to really depend on the individual, but you know, maybe it's the flavor, maybe it's the shotting element if they're having it really, really quickly, rather than mixing it with water and having it as a long drink. And that could be the reason why people do feel a bit nauseous, but there's no problem. You can just take it later in the day. Maybe try taking it before bed, maybe try taking it after training. I've even mixed it before just with warm water as a tea and had it like mid-morning. So there's lots of different ways to use it if people do find that they do feel nauseous first thing in the morning. Another question from Mindy. Should I use half of a hydrate before a run, then finish it off afterwards? That's what I like to do, especially if the run is less than an hour. I find that I don't really need to drink anything or take any hydrate with me out on that run. So if it's less than an hour, then yeah, I like to do half before and then half afterwards. So that's a great idea, great way to use it. Already had that one. Another question from Mindy, is Isopro good for older people who are not really active? Would it maintain their muscles? Yes and no. Like, yes, it's obviously really important. Older people do have slightly higher protein requirements, particularly when you think about like sarcopenia and muscle wasting with age. But by having Isopro, it wouldn't automatically help them to maintain their muscles. They do still need to be using their muscles and building their muscles. So even activities like, you know, carrying the shopping and gardening are using muscles. It's not just about going to the gym and, you know, bicep curls. That's not the only way to build muscle. So it is going to be both parts that they're going to need to think about. Make sure you've got enough protein in the diet, and make sure that you are doing, you know, activities that suit you and activities that you can do. Yes. Is it harmful to take more Ionics than prescribed? So I would say probably no more than 2 servings of Ionics per day, and 1 serving being 30 milliliters. So if you were to have like 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, I know lots of people do that, and that's absolutely fine. But I wouldn't recommend having, you know, 5 servings a day, just because we don't really know the impact of having such great amounts of some of the nutrients in there. So yeah, the recommendation is on there for a reason, but 2 servings a day is absolutely fine. So I really wouldn't worry about that if you're having it in the morning and having it in the evening. So that is all the questions from my screen and all the questions from my phone. So I believe, oh, one more from Arjan. Is it a good idea to eat an Isalean bar during a long bike ride, 3.5 hours or longer? And he's suggesting potentially eating it after 2 hours. Yes, you'll definitely need to be refueling. What Gail Nichols does, she's our, in our team Isagenix, she's a triathlete. She slices up the Isalean bar and wraps it in a little bit of tinfoil. And then on the bike, we'll have, I think like 2 or 3 pieces every 20 minutes or so. So rather than having, you know, 1 whole bar that you've got to digest all in one go, she'll basically over a period of time, just sort of nibble away at the bar, like pre-cutting it into slices and then wrapping it up into tinfoil. So it's really easy to get in and out of while you're cycling. So absolutely, you definitely need to be refueling for 3.5 hours. Obviously, don't forget Hydrate as well. But Isalean Bar is a great, great thing to slice up, and you can just, you know, have each little bit as and when. You'll know your refueling strategy for a 3.5 hour bike ride. That is quite an achievement. So congrats. So now that we're done with the questions, I hope that was useful. Slightly different to the other product training, but I think it's useful to just cover all of the products top to bottom and all of the different possible ways that you can use everything in the Energy and Performance Premium pack. And obviously you can choose the right performance pack that works for you, whether you're you know, more into just having the amped products or whether you're really into having the different types of protein. And don't forget about cleanse days. I know that we don't have Nourish for Life in the performance packs, but that doesn't mean that it's not an option. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be beneficial and useful for people who are training. So yes, make sure that you check out cleanse days and think about how you could incorporate, you know, 1 or 2 cleanse days per month into your training schedule, or the option of daily cleansing is also there, where it's not going to impact your training in any way. So that's it from me. If you are watching this later and you've got any questions, then please do drop them below and I will get back to you. But I will see you again all next week. So hope you have a lovely weekend. Goodbye.